What's going on, Motorhead fans? Welcome back to the Noob series. Of course, we're back working on the V6 Mustang. We got it in here for the 80,000 kilometer service, 50,000 miles for you US guys. A little tongue twister for action. We're gonna be doing, of course, all Motorcraft, Ford products. We like to stick with the OE stuff. Oil change, cabin air filter, spark plugs. Don't worry, this box only got 2, V6 action. Motorcraft oil filter. We're not gonna be doing the engine air filter because, of course, we got that air raid in there.
I'm in this video.
Of course, Noob series, you'll be doing all this video. It's all you, action man. Let's go.
Yeah.
All right. All right, so while that's draining, we'll get started with this. As you can see, we've lowered the plastic, and inside here, you'll see your nice white Motorcraft oil filter. They should be hand tight. Yeah, as you can see. You just want to make sure you have something that catches it, because of course it's gonna drain a little oil. And almost done. Can you get it off? Make sure you try to hold it with one hand or two hands because it will drop and you don't want this falling on your face. Get a little oil on you. One of the main things to check once you have your oil filter off is this gasket here. Sometimes this rubber gasket, depending if whoever did the service before, will be stuck on the housing, the oil filter housing. So make sure that you check to make sure that it's still on your oil filter, as well as the housing is nice and clean and doesn't have that. We'll make sure to get a nice video of inside here. You want to get a nice towel, clean it, make sure the surface area where the new gasket is going to be placed, just nice and clean, so you have a nice seal with your new oil filter. We'll make sure to lube it up beforehand. Stick around. All right guys, so we have here our new oil filter. Looks a little dirty because our hands are filthy, of course. So one of the main things I like to do to prevent the gasket from sticking, as I mentioned before, is open up your fresh oil, get a nice clean finger in there, and oil up your oil filter gasket. Don't be shy with it. More oil, better seal it's gonna have, especially when you're tightening the oil filter. You wanna make sure that the gasket is rotating and not getting snagged on the oil filter housing. We'll give you a nice topside view of me putting this on, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. All right guys, so come join me on the bottom here from the top side. You'll be able to get a better view as that from where I'm looking at. As you can see, this is the oil filter housing. I've already gone ahead and wiped it nice and clean. You'll take your oil filter and just simply thread it back on. And oil filters are not supposed to be super tight, so you'll tighten it by hand till you feel it gets snug. Then you can give it a nice quarter turn just to make sure. This is really holding oil pressure. There's not a lot of load on it, and you don't really want to over tighten it because then the next time you're doing a service, you're probably going to need a tool. So nice and tight, snug. I'll just make sure to go ahead, clean the oil filter so it looks nice and clean, fresh oil service. And if you have any residue that fell onto your frame or your guard, just make sure you clean it up. Clean service makes for a nice looking job, especially on your own personal vehicle. All right, so we finished draining the oil quite a bit. You want to make sure that it's at least dripping very minimal. If you're still letting it pour out, just let it keep going. Oil filter's back in place. Our service protector guard is back in place. And last step is going to be, well, not the last step, but last step underneath the vehicle is our oil drain plug. As you can see, Ford also puts a rubber gasket depending on other vehicles that you're going to be working on, some are going to be copper, some don't even use any at all, but Ford, of course, they put a rubber little gasket on there. So I'm going to make sure I'll get this started. Here we go. And I'm going to get our cameraman back under here and show him exactly how it should be tight. One of the main things to remember is the pan's aluminum. This is a little bit hardened steel. You don't want to over tighten it because it will strip the pan, and then you're going to have a lot more problems than changing the oil or anything else. So you just want to make sure it's good and tight. And of course the rubber gasket is there just to really prevent a lot of this oil from coming out. So I'll tighten it by hand. As you can see, it's already stopped dripping. So we'll just go ahead, give it a nice one little snug tight, and that's going to be it for bottom side. One of the other things to remember, especially after you finish the oil change and you're already under the car, visually check everything. If you see anything that looks a little bit off, definitely even just grab a couple of bolts, make sure everything is good. And the other main thing is just giving everything a wipe, because the next time you're under here and you see that there's oil in places that it shouldn't have oil, you'll also kind of know that you have maybe something else that you should probably take a look at. So keeping a car clean underneath, and then next time you're servicing it, if you see random spots, especially here, it might be time for maybe another major service or something ahead. Stick around. All right guys, as you can see, we've lowered the vehicle. Drain plug's nice and tight. Oil filter is good and tight. Skid plates are back on. Everything is also cleaned up. Used a little brake clean, a couple of towels, just cleaned everything up, making it look fresh. Last step for the oil change, of course, is topping off the oil. We're going to be using the 5W20 synthetic. The other way to check, some manufacturers will just add it onto the cap right there. Just make sure you're matching what's there or what's recommended for your location. Make sure you get yourself a nice filter, kind of prevent a little bit of a mess. If you don't have a filter, you can get yourself like a used water bottle. Just cut the top off of it, and it fits really nicely in there, and it'll give you a little bit better control of pouring in the oil. Just another quick tip idea. All right, so we finished topping off the oil. We've started the vehicle. Make sure you don't have any oil lights or any sensors going off on the inside. Everything should be good. Let the car run for about maybe a minute or two. Come back out. Check your dipstick. Make sure the level is good and full. I won't show you here. Let me just clean it off, make it easier to see. But you have two indicator marks. You want to make sure that you're right up top on the hash mark. If you're below here, even if you're checking it during the day, like further on, if your oil level's here, it's about a quart or let's say maybe half a liter to get it back up top to here. So if you think your car is burning oil and you're checking it and it's below this mark, definitely top it off because you want to be up towards the top of the hash mark here. But that's basically it for the oil change. Our next step on the vehicle is going to be doing spark plugs. If you're cool like us, we have a nice strut bar here. So first thing is removing the strut bar. Driver's side is going to be super easy. You have access to all the coils on this side. But for passenger side, it may seem a little bit intimidating, but you're going to want to remove your air intake manifold. There's a couple of bolts. We'll be doing some nice videos, time lapse of showing you exactly how to be removing this, but yeah, next step, spark plugs. Full service here. All right guys, so we're gonna get started on the spark plugs here. First thing you wanna do is disconnect your ground for the battery. You can do both. Mostly I just do the ground. Just more precautionary. Some people leave them on, some people don't. I like to personally remove it. Next step after that is going to be removing your air intake, especially the main tube here, because we're going to be removing the air intake manifold. You're also going to have a couple of hoses to remove just to give you access to the coil plugs on the top side here. They're all going to be 8mm as well as these here. So make sure you have a nice 8mm socket with a ratchet ready to go. I'm going to get our guys started on that, and I'm going to be working on a couple of these hoses. The main thing about the air intake manifold is just simply disconnecting these hoses. They're all just kind of push clip. This is the only one that you'll probably need a plier to remove, but it's simple. Squeeze the clamp and give it a little wiggle, and that's it. Voila, easy as that. kind of just move it out of the way a little bit as much. Don't force any of the hoses, especially the hard lines. You don't want to bend them or prevent any damage. You have a couple of other ones here on the inside. Simple clips, especially if you want, look up online how to remove Ford clips, especially like this gray one here. They're pretty simple. Let me remove this one from the inside. It's simple as pulling the tab, moving it over. Easy as that. We're just gonna put you guys on time lapse. Stick around. If you guys have any questions, comments, just drop them down below and we'll make sure to get them answered for you. All right, as you guys have been seeing, we've got the driver's side out. I've removed the intake manifold, just a couple of bolts on the top side. I'll show you after when I grab the intake. Here's the old spark plug. As you can see, it's got some typical wear on it. It doesn't look too bad, nothing too lean or running too rich at all. It's pretty nice. Here's our new spark plug ready to go. Of course, Motorcraft. One of the things that I personally like to use before reinstalling these is a little anti-seize lubricant. I don't use much, just get a little dab. Now just kind of add it to the threads. What this kind of helps with is because the heads are aluminum and this is considered steel, the two metals will actually end up sticking together. As you can see here, it causes a little bit of burn and sometimes they will seize to the head. So just a little bit of preventative for the next time you swap out the spark plugs. Just a little dab around the threads. These already come pre-gapped, but if you'd like, you can also get a feeler gauge and check the gap between the diode and the stem here, just to make sure. You can check them online depending on your vehicle, your specs. But we'll just make sure to drop a little anti-seize on all the threads and just be dropping them back in and tightening them up. All right, so before I reinstall the intake manifold, just want to take a few seconds, show you guys. So you have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bolts that are on the intake manifold. So just loosen those up. What's nice about these is they're lock washed in. Basically, there's a washer that kind of holds them in place from coming out. So even when you tip it over, they're not going to fall all the way out. The main thing before you reinstall it is checking this rubber gasket, making sure that it's nice. You can even remove it, clean out the oil from it. We're just going to go ahead and kind of give this a little clean before we reinstall it. And then it's as simple as that, just putting it right back in place and putting everything back that you removed. Easy as that. As you guys have seen, we're also going to be doing the AC cabin air filter, they'll call this. There is direction of flow, so air flowing in, just make sure you have that going towards the inside of the cabin. So this will filter outside of the air going in. Also try to make sure your hands are clean. Mine are kind of filthy, so I'm going to make sure to have somebody else maybe drop this in. This was our old air filter. This one doesn't look too terrible, but as you can see, the gray in color is just a lot of particulate in there. So swapping this out, just gonna give you some nice, fresh, clean air inside. Smelling good. Especially here, we get so much dust and sand everywhere. It's nice to have a nice, fresh air filter. All right, Motorhead fans, as you can see, we got everything buttoned back up, strut bar, air intake. We topped off the coolant, topped off a couple of other things, just went through everything on this, especially with the 80,000 mile service, kilometers. You just kind of want to go ahead, check everything over, make sure everything is good. Car's running super healthy and nice. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Drop us a like, subscribe. If you have any comment on anything that we did today, any other services, make sure you've checked out the invisible sensor. That was a nice video that we also did. The spoiler, we got a lot of things coming on. Make sure you drop that subscribe. And also, of course, check out our Instagram. We're always dropping quick stories on there, other posts that we sometimes don't put on YouTube. So make sure you're following us, Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff. So stick around, we're gonna have plenty more to come.